but to get started, to really kind of get our audience on the right foot, I wanted to start with your father and talk about Sonny. Can you tell us a little bit about him and his influence on you? Because I think that's a great place to start for, you know, mentorship and that perspective.
Yeah, I think it's a great place to start. You know, I was incredibly lucky to have Sonny Igoe be my father. You know, to put it bluntly. Great musician, but more importantly, a great man, and a true member of the silent era. You know, born in between world wars, just before the Depression. You know, lived through that. You know, and they didn't complain about anything like at all, and you know, he had a work ethic that made a huge lasting impact upon me. I mean, this guy played until he died, and I mean that like literally. He played right up until he died. There's a couple stories I could tell you about that. But he was as devoted to the craft and art as anyone could ever be. And that was what I was modeled in my house. That if you're going to do this, you do it all the way and you give your heart and soul, as so many great artists have before us, to this art. And don't disrespect it. You know, so that formed a lot of my mindset, you know. And you know, I grew up hearing stories that a lot of guys don't ever hear, of, you know, being on the road with you know, Woody Herman in 1951, and being a member of Lionel Hampton's Sextet, one of the first integrated bands in the world that went down south with, and the shit my dad saw firsthand, 1948 with Benny Goodman, you know. And you know, you know, and he was one of those guys, man. It's too bad too. He was reticent to tell his stories. He just wasn't one of those guys. He wasn't one of those me and I guys. He just wasn't that. He's like, he would sit around and it's like, gather around, you young pups, I'm gonna tell you some stories. That's just not who he was, you know. I had to drag that shit out of him, you know. And then once it just made a really lasting impact on me. The wisdom and devotion he had to jazz and to the arts and to the craft, and being a great musician, being a great human. So that was my home life, you know. I was very lucky to have it.
It's awesome. And so that influenced both your playing. Obviously, he influenced your playing as well. But what you're getting at, and I think that's something that I've noticed about yourself, because we've kind of gotten to know each other over the internet, not even meeting face to face, was you're always coming from a place of values. You're not coming from a place of just the playing, but that the playing is backed first. Like you said, you described your dad saying, first, he's a great person. You know, he's a great human. He's a great man. Like, so do you kind of approach everything from that value mindset? And where does that come from him as well? Is that because I don't see a lot of people modeling that mindset. You're coming from a deeper place.
No, it's not coming from well, I think that is the deepest place that you could possibly come from. I think, you know, honoring your last name is the first thing you should think of, you know. And that's how that's just how I'm baked anyway. I'm just baked that way. That's just who I am, you know. And it's easy to be that way when you have a great mentor and a model right in front of your face, you know. And we were one of those, you know, mostly musicians, and this is not any news, you know, mostly musicians who have musicians as fathers, they don't get along. And a lot of times the sons or daughters, they don't go into the music business, and there's friction and like whatever and stuff, because, you know, you got two, you know, artists in the house, and, you know, the young buck doesn't want to listen to the old stud, and blah blah blah, you know. And it's always this like kind of like, there could be like a friction. We never had any of that. My dad, there was a rule, is if I wanted to learn, I had to go to him. I had to ask for a lesson, because in my house, education was a gift, was a thing of value. It wasn't you had to ask to be educated. You had to go and you had to show me, you had to show him that you were thirsty. And that also had a big impact on me. So if I was down there screwing up, he would not come down and, like, you know, straighten me out. You know, I have to go, hey, Dad, why does this sound like crap? You know, but I have to ask him, like, what am I completely blowing here, man? And then he would go, okay, let's take a look. You know, it was that kind of thing. And that kind of environment also showed, you know, that, you know, the student had to show thirst. You got to want it. It wasn't just given to you. You had to ask for it. And that made a big impact on me too.